Hi guys, welcome to the Reds Project. In this episode I'm going to be slapping together the bottom end, this ls1, but before I get to that I must apologise. In the last episode I was sizing the rings for the ls1, and somewhere between recording it and editing on the computer I lost some footage of me sizing the ring gaps close up to show you exactly how I was doing it. So start of this episode I'm going to show you how to do that first, and then we'll get into putting this thing together. Okay guys, I'll quickly show you how to file down the ring gaps because I lost the footage from the last episode. Let's pretend that this is the second ring. So the specs I went for this motor, 26 thou for the top ring, 28 thou for the second ring. So all you do, put it into the bore, use a piston just to make sure the ring's square in the bore, and just measure it with some feeler gauges. So we've got 25 thou straight in, 26 thou just makes it in, 28 it's too tight. So we've got to make the gap bigger. So pull it from the bore, use this little ring file here. You want to turn the ring file this direction, from what I've been told, because a lot of rings will have a coating on the outside. So if you try and grind it that way, it will sometimes take the plating off the outside of the top ring. So it's a good habit to be into. You file it this way. It seems backwards when you're using bench grinders and stuff. It seems backwards, but doing it that way prevents that from happening. And I'm only going to be grinding one side because it's good to have the second gap untouched, so it's a nice square, flat, perfect edge. So if this starts going on an angle or anything, you can pick it up by closing it and make sure they're parallel to each other. So we just put it in, hold it, a little bit of pressure. And use a little file to take all the sharp edges off. Put it back into the bore. Use a piston. And I'll measure again. 26 straight in, no dramas. 28. Little firm, but that's pretty good. Alright, it's as easy as that. Now these are the second-hand old rings that came out of this engine. I just thought I'd grab one of them and just show you how to do it because I lost the footage from last episode. Alright, that's it for this. Let's put this motor together. Alright, let's slap this thing together. First thing, we're going to put our bearings in. When I do this, I like to just get a little bit of engine oil, coat the backs of them, and where they sit, just to make sure they don't bind, make it a bit easier to install as well. So I'll get them lubed up and drop them in. Doing the thrust, the hardest one first. Now these motors have different bearings, top and bottom. So this one, you probably can't see that well, but it says upper. So they're the ones that go into the block. The other ones have lower onto them, referring to the main cap. So I'll put my last one in here. That's all. Those 5 in. I'm going to put a little bit of engine assembly lube in here. It's quite stringy stuff. It's sticky, so I guess it's good. It'll cling to everything. This is just Penrite assembly lube. It was first time I've used it. I don't know. I just seen it at a shop and thought I'd give it a shot. So this just makes sure that when you first fire the engine up, or before you get oil pressure, that it'll have some form of lubrication in there, and just for turning the engine over to make sure it's lubed and not going to damage or score anything. Okay, that's pretty good. Alright, let's drop the crank in. There we go, easy as that. I'll grab our main caps. Same thing, going to oil the back of the bearing, not drop it. And we got number 1. Drop that guy in. Okay, so we'll grab our inner outer bolts, outer, inner, and then we'll torque them down, and then you torque down your cross bolts after you do the first ones once they're dammed and settled. I'm going to do the other 4 caps and torque them all down off camera because that's a bit boring, but what you want to make sure you do as you're torquing them down, and you start from the middle and work out, is you want to make sure that you torque this cap down and you turn it and it still turns normal, and then do this one. If anything happens, if a bearing's wrong or something's biting or something's too tight, you'll feel it and you'll work out which cap is wrong before it gets too late, before you go to turn the engine over and it's locked up or whatever. So as you torque down each cap, turn the motor, make sure that it's still free. Every one you torque up, the resistance will get a little bit higher, but if it's too high, then you know you've done something wrong and take the cap back off. Ta-da! Magic, isn't it? All 5, all torqued down, ready to go. Crank still moves nice and smooth, no issues there. One thing you got to keep in mind with these things, with these ls1s, these outside cross bolts, you have to put a little bit of silicone on the head of them before you put them in so that they seal, otherwise they'll just leak out oil, being from inside to outside. Alright, so this is all ready to go. We're going to go ahead and drop our pistons into it. This one happens to be number 4. So bearings in, lubed, rings are in, the gaps are in the right spots. What we use is this jigger. It's a ring compressor, and just slide it over the top of the rings, about halfway down the skirt, and then we tighten it up, try and keep it square. And what that does is pushes all the rings in, so we can slide it straight into the bore without having them get stuck. And before you put it in, I've already done it, but you put a bit of oil inside this so that it allows the piston to slide smoothly. In the bore as well, I've already put a bit of oil in there so that everything comes in slowly. All this extra oil, once you get everything in, you turn it over and wipe the excess off, but any oil that's in there, they'll just get burnt off in the first startup. So having oil here is a help rather than hindrance. Alright, let's drop this guy in. So you've got to make sure it dots towards the front. And gently drop him in. Get a hammer and you just tap around the edges so that it's square, there's no gaps. And you just tap with the end of the hammer, the handle. And it's in. And keep tapping it. That's all the way home. Grab our big end cap. These only go on one way. Because of the way they're cracked, they're not a machined cut in them. They will only go on one way, so you can't really stuff this up. Get the screw out. There we go. Okay, this way I think. Yep, that's it. That's one. And they're both nipped up. I'm going to torque them up off camera, and then I'm going to do the rest of them in a time lapse. Okay, well there we go. Bottom end's all assembled, pistons are in, rods are in, it's all torqued down, it's turning over nicely. That about does it for this episode. Next episode, we're going to be doing the heads. Going to pull the valves out, give them a bit of a clean up, bolt the heads down, slap a cam in it, push rods, lifters, rockers, and some rocker covers, so to kind of complete the long engine. So that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. If you want to keep track of this, please subscribe, keep updates happening. And thanks for watching. See you next time. And slapping together the bottom end. Sticky, stringy lube. Ta-da! Okay, well there we go.